Time to go one-on-one with DP. Coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios. Here is your host, Derek Pearson. Presented by Beatrice Bakery on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome, everybody, to One-on-One. Thank you for joining us today. Of course, with March Mayhem and tournaments and the like going on, there are things to talk about that deserve some time. 402-464-5685, the Starter Heyman text line. Honda Lincoln hotline if you want to call in, if you want to text in. But we have company. And the reason why, and it's important, and folks know me, you know that I'm not a bettor. That's on purpose. A lifetime full of being around sports and seeing what happens when it is done without boundary control or responsibility. And so today, we think it's a good thing with Selection Sunday yesterday that everybody have this conversation. So I've asked Jake Sorensen to sit in as well because I want this to be a station-wide conversation. I want folks outside of this space particularly as well to carry this thing through. So, Jake, come on in and let the folks know, how does this meeting of the minds happen? How do these two folks get to you?
Well, we are joined in studio by Deb Hammond, the Director of Choices Treatment Center in Lincoln, and Mike Chandra, also the Education Outreach Coordinator at Choices Treatment Center. And we were just talking back in February how it's important, like you said, DP, that this is a big time of the year where the sports books get busy and people make bad decisions because they get excited about what can come from their great minds they have, and all that leads to problems and trying to get out of the hole. And that's why we have Deb and Mike here today to talk about that. And we thank you guys for joining us today. This is obviously a huge week for you guys trying to talk about problem gambling awareness this whole month in general. So I'll start with you, Deb, as the director of the Choices Treatment Center. What goes on this month for you guys, and how important is it for you guys to get the message out there about the importance of being smart with the whole gambling concept?
It's a very big deal because over the pandemic, we have seen a 30 to 60% increase with online gaming. And that is not primarily adults. That's a combination of 3 years and up that can get on their cell phones and have at it. So even though it's around March Gambling Awareness Month, it's a big deal all the way across the country, throughout our state. And as we look at legalizing, we've already legalized, sorry.
Right.
The casinos, we're going to have sportsbook in Nebraska. So, and that's close. There's licenses being issued now, and probably going to see our first one within the next 3 months open as far as a casino.
We understand the business behind it, but I think what gets lost sometimes is the psychology behind it, right? Why people are drawn to this, and it's purposeful, and it's draw, and it's magnetic power. Mike, you can speak to this. What is it that makes it so appealing to people, even when we know deep down that it generally has a negative outcome?
Well, first thing I can tell you all is that I am a problem gambler. I'm in recovery, but I mean, for over 20 years, had a very serious issue with it. And it was all sorts of different forms of gambling. But the big thing for me is that first of all, it was something that was just a part of my family. Is that something we grew up? My family went to the casinos, did all sorts of different things as far as gambling. It was part of our regular conversations. So it was very normalized in my home. But then from there, as I got older and more responsibilities, more family, more money needed, that cycle starts where you start betting, then you get behind, and then you start trying to catch up, trying to chase. And you just get into a cycle where you're either, it almost comes across as like, it can almost manifest in like a bipolar sort of sense, as far as you get the mania of the rush of gambling, the rush of winning, and then the low lows of losing. And it gets to a point where it's just like any other addiction, any substance abuse, anything like that, that you're just chasing that high all the time. And you'll do anything to chase that high. And it's very similar as far as look and feel to a substance abuse or any other addiction.
Deb, how does this, within treatment for this, how much of the focus is on the things that lead you there rather than the reaction to after you've already involved yourself? Marketing, there's some high-level branding and psychological marketing that goes on to get people to the window and online to the sites. How much time do you spend dealing with that, and how?
Well, actually, I'm going to probably have Mike address that a little
Okay.
bit, but I do want to clarify something with all of us,
Okay.
because 80% of the population can gamble normally. It's the 20% that can't, or the 20% that's going to be affected.
Okay.
And so a rule of thumb used to be that an addict would affect 7 to 10 people.
Mhm.
Gamblers, problematic gamblers, affect 50 or more individuals
Wow.
because they're borrowing money. They're out there trying to chase that bet. So when you asked about the importance of it, I wish I could articulate the words to tell everybody the pain that's
Right.
there for the ones that can't. But for those groups of individuals who can gamble normally, they need to maintain what that normalcy looks like. I mean, the minute you start to lie, or you're stealing money,
Mhm.
or you're crossing that line of spending monies that are not disposable incomes,
Mhm.
then there's a problem already happening. And so our upbringings are huge. I mean, we are a product of our environments. Sometimes we have to break those cycles. So back to Mike as far as your
Yeah.
actual question.
Okay, Mike?
I mean, as far as it goes for me, it was a matter of, I mean, in treatment, we broke it down right away. First of all, I was very fortunate. I was treated through Choices. And so I'm going to be pro Choices, but any counselor would go through the same process, I feel like, as far as we started out just kind of examining my life, doing a timeline of where the behavior started, what it looked like. And I feel like it'd be the same with any addiction treatment, but we really kind of started out with that timeline, breaking your life down, because for me, the life that I lived seemed normal to me from the time I was a kid all the way through being an old man that I am now. It was just normal for me. And for me to actually sit down and go through a timeline, go through just breaking down step by step, year by year, kind of what my life looked like, realized, hey, this isn't normal behavior. You don't have to live like this moving forward. And that's what got me into treatment in the first place, is that I was just exhausted. I was truly living a double life between what I was doing from the gambling side of me versus who I was trying to portray myself to be to the outside world. And that exhaustion, I knew it was wrong all along. I knew what I was doing wasn't right. So for me to actually have someone help me understand that, help break it down for me, really made all the difference in the world.
Deb, what's the thing that allows you to get up and do this every day? Because you're watching battles, victories, losses. What's the thing? Because
36 years ago, I stopped sports gambling myself.
Right.
So-
Like that's usually and within these spaces, there usually has to be a rock bottom.
Well, you can call it rock bottom, or you can call it you've lost everything. I mean, you don't have anything left, whether it be financially, emotionally, mentally. Unfortunately, 7% of the individuals that we treat have had some suicidal ideation. And obviously, when we want to prevent the actual successful suicide. So if we can intervene faster, or if individuals like Mike or somebody who has a problem, I would much rather treat that early on than to have them be at their rock bottom place. I would much rather do a lot of preventative educational pieces. I can guarantee you that most sports gamblers of, say, 12 to 20, they're going to tell you they know that what odds, but I don't necessarily think they understand what the odds are and how directly they can be affected by that.
Should that be the messaging, though? That look, this is not a winning proposition at all. Like it just isn't.
No, it is. The odds are not in favor of the gambler,
Right.
or there wouldn't be gambling,
Right.
but again, it's set out there to be for entertainment purposes. It is not designed, as you stated earlier, that it is business. I mean, business is business, but at the same time, there's an obligation and a moral obligation that each and every one of us have to take, because the last thing on earth we want to see is somebody financially devastated, or they lose their family, or they end up committing suicide. We have to be proactive in saving and talk about this. This is a public health issue, and we're putting our heads in the
It's a
sand.
community issue.
Yes.
That
Absolutely.
Thank you.
that affects workload. It affects family, how people engage in the community, responsibilities, all of those things. And we jokingly, Jake and I have had this conversation that as a part of what we do, I'm asked to predict and suggest.
Yep.
And I run away from it in full.
He did today. He did this morning.
Like in full, because I understand, one, what it does to the person. Then it understands at a greater level, an expanded level. You said if it affects 50 people outside of the person who's making a decision, what I would ask is, what is the reach? What's the plan to get into the dark corners, to get people to admit and understand that they need help? It's okay to need help, which is probably almost as important, for people to feel like it's okay to not be okay in this space.
You said a mouthful there. For us, for choices in particular,
Mhm.
I met with my bookkeeper and my CPA, and I just said, you know what, we had to do something because we're not getting the message out there.
Mhm.
Our calls are up because we go out and we do an outreach piece. So therefore, hiring Mike as the marketing director made sense to me. Recovery and marketing go hand in hand. Individuals are more apt, if they hear somebody talk about it, they're more apt to reach out. Also, we're dealing with a different type of gambler. The gambler in my age, I'm over the top here, 36 years not gambling, but you look at the gambler today and it's technical. It's all online for the most part, or you go into the casino and you place your bet and then you leave. Normally, that's not where it is today. It's so much online, and it's so ready, accessible, and there's so much done, whether they're at work or whether they're at home. And there's a lot of time that's escaped from
Tracking is easier, right? Now you can follow games, and now you get more information on games that maybe aren't local to you or convenient to you.
But that also leads to the obsession piece of it too, which I think is a huge part of the addiction in general. And that's something that it has become an obsession with a lot of people out there. And it isn't even just your normal betting. It can be your daily fantasy. It can be anything here, can get to that obsessive point. And that's where the addiction, the really disordered part of it, comes into play.
Like that, you mentioned like the word that triggers fantasy. The fantasy betting has made it used to be a Sunday thing, right? It was a Sunday thing. And then it became a college football thing. So Saturdays are now involved. And then there's a Sunday night game, a Monday night game, a Thursday night game.
Every day of the week.
Every day of the week. Now
Every
with baseball,
hour.
now you can bet on pitches. You can bet on lacrosse. You can bet on foreign sports that don't even exist in your space.
Cricket.
Right? Like all of it. Right? Like for all of it. So in the messaging, how do you attack? Because you have to attack this. You can't be passive in letting people know that you're here for him. You're there for them.
I wish we could be a little bit more aggressive,
right? Like
in our wording. I think we offend people when we become aggressive, though. So reaching out, we're starting to move back into the schools.
Mhm.
We will be talking with hopefully junior high and level and up. Honestly, I think we need to be talking to
which you need to say that again so people understand how deep this thing runs.
Junior high level and up. I would really
Wow.
think that, quite frankly,
Junior
we
high.
need to be in the elementary schools and just talking about it, because kids see their parents, they see their uncles, their aunts, their friends. And I'm not saying that it is all done at home, because it's not. honestly, our statistics show us in the state of Nebraska that the majority of individuals learned how to gamble from a friend,
Oh, absolutely.
not from a parent. But I do have a lot of clients in the past, and most currently another individual who learned it from a grandfather innocently. He could do fractions at 5. You go to the horse track,
Right.
you used to go play Keno, and you'd go with your parents and Keno, glorified bingo, is
It
what
is-
that
It is.
to
It
me.
really
I
is.
mean,
In my family, look, my mom, God rest her soul, but that was a thing that her and my sisters would do, and it provided stress. Like it created drama, and I just said, "Oh, I didn't identify that as gambling."
well, that's the other misconception. Most people in the state of Nebraska don't identify that we have gambling because we don't have a casino,
Lottery
but we have the lottery.
tickets,
Yes,
like lottery tickets.
Mhm.
There are people who are religious about it, and I think those conversations in this space, especially in the sports space, and I use that as the jump off for gambling because they're tied together so uniquely. Televised card play, poker tournaments, as such, televised pool tournaments. I had a friend who bet on bowling.
Wow.
Wow. Whoa.
Yeah, pro bowling, and I went, wow. And then I have a friend who he literally bets on pro wrestling, and I just it took him saying, "Is this weird?" Like he actually just confessed. He said, "Okay, is this really weird? Is this really bad?" And that's when the conversation really begins. When somebody says, I'm accepting that this is not normal and this is not good.
if you have to ask yourself that question,
Right?
you have a problem.
It's the thing. So for middle school kids, how do you reach them? Are the educators a boundary? Is it just the families? Is it the teachers that recognize that the young person is going through some sort of change or stress? How do you approach that?
I'll chime in here because I'm the dad of a middle schooler right
Yeah.
now. So I see it firsthand
Right.
is that just mental health issues in general at that age are skyrocketing, and these teachers are aware of what's going on. They know what's going on in their classrooms, and it's not necessarily everything that they see kids all day that are stuck to their phones. My daughter tells me about how people are making TikToks during class. They're doing different things on their phones all day. And that includes things as far as games, as far as playing games, as far as which can lead into betting and stuff like that. The main thing at that age is to really set that behavior and just make sure you're not obsessive about any behaviors that are going to isolate yourself. And I mean, a lot of what we do on our phones these days, isolate yourself overall. So I think that's a good place to start, is working with that. We don't have to go into the nuts and bolts necessarily of gambling, just those behaviors in general. If we can get away from those obsessive behaviors, then work into the gambling piece of it as well. I think that's where you really hit home with your middle school students and their teachers.
As a coach, I've been in high schools all over America, and the phone engagement and the phone boundaries set by parents who pay for said phones. This is important to understand. Should parents think, do I need to go through the apps? Do I need to go through the phones? Do I need to, or simply, is it just asking the question, is this something that appeals to you or that you're interested in?
Well, I don't think it's wrong at all to sit down and talk to your children. Actually, quite frankly, the NCAA brackets are going to come out in the paper, and it's family fun and entertainment. You pick those. I know several families that get together and do that. This is our opportunity to talk, though. Talk about the odds. Teach them what the odds are. There's nothing wrong in teaching what the odds are. Life is a gamble. It's how we choose to set those boundaries. I will say this in defense of Lincoln Public Schools. They have been very good to us in the past. And with the pandemic, we had to stop, but I think it will pick back up again, especially on the high school level. The consumer family science classes, they bring us in. They allow us to come in. They allow us to screen. They allow us to do a survey with those individuals. And undoubtedly, every class, there will be at least one student who will have a story to tell us from either their family background or knowing a friend who has a problem. I don't remember the exact date. It was probably 4 or 5 years ago, where Omaha had the student that was in junior high that was collecting bet at the school, I believe, on the brackets. And
that's mind blowing. I'm
having,
sorry, that's mind blowing.
In some ways, that because gamblers are very high intelligence level.
Yeah, no doubt.
They have to be sometimes in order to stay ahead of the game with chasing for the monies. Obviously, it borderlines between criminal behavior and thinking.
Oh, there's some bullying.
Absolutely.
At a high volume because of this. Like, that's when you talk about high school, junior high and high school kids, when the betting mentality becomes how they live, then the collections of said and the running from, the evading, the avoiding, and the lies that have to happen. How do you address that? What's the messaging to tell a young person? Listen, if you're telling lies to do this, you probably shouldn't be doing it. How do you handle that? Because that's a little tough. That's a little tough for a 12-year-old, 13-year-old to hear. But how do you handle it?
I think just what you just said right there, just being as blunt and honest about it as possible, because they know. I mean, my daughter knows at 14, she's known it for years, that if it's something that she doesn't feel comfortable telling me about, there's probably something wrong with it. And it doesn't matter if she spilled something in the living room, or if she saw a friend doing something that they weren't supposed to, or she went to a party, or whatever it is. She knows that if she can't tell me about it and can't be honest about it, there's something wrong with it. And we need to be the same way regarding phone usage, whether it's something gambling related, whatever it is. Just having that conversation, having that open dialogue with our kids about all of this stuff is just key.
Average onset age in Nebraska for gambling is 8 to 10 years of age. When they have been.
Literally what I was going to ask.
That's
That's literally what I was going to ask you. Like, how early are the signs? When do parents need to really start to engage?
That's when they're introduced to gambling.
Wow.
Problematic and disordered gambling. I can't even tell you.
That is heartbreaking.
Because we don't have enough statistics to show us that. Our Gamblers Assistance Program is just getting up and running really well, to where they have this website that you can go to, and then there's a number there for people to call. There's screening, and there's symptoms of problem gambling. But this comes back to the basics of parenting. I'm just I have kids. Everybody in this room knows a child. Mm-hmm. So this, again, as I've said before, you said community, I say public health issue. It is a huge issue because it is so commonly and it is so easily acceptable. It's just a little bit. Okay, is marijuana a little bit of marijuana, and then we take on to the next drug? Is alcohol a little bit of alcohol, and then we go to the shots? From the shots, we move up to the beers, the mix, whatever it is. There has to be boundaries. There has to be communication. There has to be a level of acceptance on what's tolerable. When we talk about, we need to talk to children about this. Unfortunately, we have households that don't have meals together anymore. We have households that almost all the parents are working 2 jobs to make ends meet. You've got your individuals that we have to juggle our schedules at home as to one's working this shift, one's working this shift, and who's going to do this with the kids and who's going to do that. And keeping the kids active. I think it's very important to keep kids active. And the kids will tell you. Children love to talk.
Oh, they can't wait to tell you who they are. Deb Hammerman and Mike Chandra, Choices Treatment Center, Lincoln. Have we identified why people gamble?
It's fun. It's entertaining.
Right? I mean, that and the things that are fun to us are often risky to us. Is it the thrill of it that you have to deal with and manage? Is it the consequences of said thrill that you have to manage from? Are you managing proactively or reactively? All of those are questions. Which one's the most difficult to answer? Reactive or proactive? So somebody comes to you and says, I want to keep my child from doing this. How do I do it? Or is it simply in dealing with the choice made already?
I think there's an education piece to it is where it should start. I mean, you want to have some proactivity there with it, just as far as having a conversation. I know I'm very open about my past and my experiences. So I've had the conversation with my daughter, letting her know kind of what I went through. And
This is it. Yeah.
and this, I'll just lay it out there, she's at the age now where she understands it. And it's a matter of, and this is with anything can become problematic. If you lose control over it and it becomes an obsessive part of your life, it can be food, it can be gambling, it can be substance abuse, whatever it is, just being able to have that conversation, just knowing, hey, if something gets out of control with you, that's not right. You can do everything in moderation, but once it gets past that point, that's when you need to start reflecting and looking back and start talking to other people. And it comes back to that communication piece.
I'd love to ask you all, everybody in the room. We've talked about it from the parent standpoint, but just as important and maybe as volatile is the spouse, significant other aspect. So, Jake, how would you just look just to see how you would deal with how I would more likely ask you how she would deal with you.
Better question.
But what are the steps for a spouse, significant other in identifying, realizing, accepting, assisting the person in their life?
Well, first of all, if money doesn't add up at home, depending on how they handle their monies, because lots of families don't put their monies together anymore. They have their money, his money, her money, kids' money, you know. So money is the tool that is used to gamble with. But the minute there's a lie or there's absenteeism, can't make this or can't make that event, those are little telltale signs. Obviously hiding their phones or not allowing somebody else to see their phones. If they're married, they should have access to each other's phones. And
that's going to cause fights for listeners today.
Yes.
I was going to say, you just opened up a can of worms.
Yeah, you just set that off.
I get that, but if we're being totally honest,
no, but that's why you have the discussion.
Absolutely. Why do you think it's so hard for parents to talk to kids? It's because they're doing it themselves.
Yeah, it's very hard for them to talk to each other. It's a very difficult
process when you go gamble over here, but then your children want to gamble. How do you do that?
I think from a spouse point, I just want to put up this one point because I'm actually in a class right now. I'm taking classes to become a certified gambling counselor. And I just got done with one for about significant others. And the biggest thing they talk about in there is that spouses a lot of times are relieved when they find out that their significant other is gambling because they thought it was cheating.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's just money.
Interesting.
It's because it manifests in a lot of the same ways, that dishonesty, that absenteeism, all that sort of stuff. It looks very similar.
They are having an affair. Male or female, you're having an affair with gambling, it or not. You're not paying attention to that home. And that's why when Mike said that is something that was taught many, many years ago, that the spouses that finally came out and actually asked for help, which is why Nebraska, when we legalized the lottery, we actually put in legislation that family members and concerned others can have treatment at no cost as well as the gambler, because it is those individuals that are affected the most. It's not the gambler. We can stop the chaos with that, but we can't make somebody forgive somebody for lying to them. We can't make up the monies that's been lost, the time that's been lost. That takes a joint collaborative effort. And for individuals that are going to be successful in this, their support system has got to be great. It has got to be encompassed by people that understand. So working with our biggest intakes right now, our largest number of intakes right now is not the gambler themselves. It is the family member. They've heard an ad or they've seen something and they reach out for help. And then it's an intervention process. From that point on, it becomes, okay, what are you going to do to raise that bottom? Because you have to stop the enabling. If you're the spouse that's enabling and you don't even know you're enabling until you stop the chaos long enough, then we can get that other person in. We can get the problem gambler.
It's the tracking and identifying before the 23rd hour, right? Where hey, I'm really in trouble. To get to that point before it gets there. I think, look, for whatever vices we all have, I think if we all learn, one, to have the communication, two, to identify it, but then finally removing the stigma
Absolutely.
of it, right? Oh, what are people going to think when they find out that I didn't have control of this thing, or that I didn't have the money, or I didn't have the resources? Removing the stigma is a huge part of the treatment, I would imagine.
Embarrassment's the number one reason that people don't present for treatment. It has nothing to do with money. It's embarrassing. And we do have to be able to accept this. We don't have any choice. We are full blown gambling now in the state of Nebraska. So, like it or not, we had it before, from the majority of it before, with our phones and access to the computers. But now to have them locally is even more important for us to be able to talk. And like, I will reiterate this till hell freezes over. Sorry.
You're good. You're good.
That 80% of the population can gamble normally. We have an obligation to the 20% of the individuals to not let it get to a point where we have either a suicide or we have a family breakup. I mean, that is extremely important to us. And that is probably the lead message for Mike, is to give people the opportunity and let them know that there's help. One thing that GAP has changed, which I think is extremely important for us, and it's going to work very well for Mike in the future, is when you call the helpline, you actually talk to a live counselor in Nebraska now. And there's, on the website, you can actually go on, and you can, there's 2 interviews that are being, that you can watch, 2 individuals that are in recovery. They share a little bit about their story and about hope and about how treatment worked. And here's a number. We want people to call before they're $150,000, $200,000 in debt. We want them before they're 20, 30 credit cards or online checks. You know, we got rid of the check cashing places in Lincoln, but we didn't get rid of the banks that offer the overdraft protection at $35.
They're online now.
And then you got them online, and you can easy access to cash online. So there's a lot of hurdles. There's a lot of barriers, but there's also help. And that is the most important piece for me, is that somebody can listen to somebody else's story. Because if you hear somebody else and you know what they went through, then they in turn can begin that process. Now, bring in that mental health and bring in that substance abuse piece also, because you have to treat from a holistic approach, because over 50% of the treatment for substance abuse individuals in the state of Nebraska indicate that there's at least 25 to 35% of those individuals that have a gambling problem. They're just not being screened for it. So we need to all work collaboratively together to treat.
I'm going to ask you to stay. We're going to go to break real quick, pay some bills. When we come back, I want to go into how folks can reach you, how they can find you, and then the steps that are required to make this stuff work and make it happen. We'll throw the break here on 101 93.7 The Ticket.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store. You're listening to One-on-One with DP on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Did you know that the U.S. has added over 1,100 new breweries in the last 18 months? Learn more by shopping at Myers Cork and Bottle, 13th and South, and by tuning in to Thirsty Thursdays with Kevin Myers, because sports are better with a drink in your hand and a friend at your side.
Shopping for insurance can be a tedious and frustrating task, but the agents at Brokers Insurance Agency will do the work for you. They have partnered with over 20 of the best insurance carriers in the nation, which allows them to do the shopping all for you. Whether you're looking for business insurance or employee benefits for your company, or you're looking to save money on your home and auto insurance, Brokers Insurance Agency has the agents and solutions to help meet your goals. Call 402-420-5353 or email staff at brokersinsuranceNE.com.
Lincoln's best place to meet, eat, and compete.
Sun Valley Lanes and Games is now offering spring sand volleyball leagues. Sand volleyball leagues are 9 weeks long beginning April 3rd. Registration is available online at sunvalleylanes.com. Use the promo code 93.7 to save 5%. That's sunvalleylanes.com, promo code 93.7. Volleyball not your thing? They also offer fun cornhole and bowling leagues. Visit sunvalleylanes.com for complete details.
Lincoln's best place to meet, eat, and compete. Sun Valley.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by Security First Bank, a relationship you can count on.
Partly to mostly cloudy skies at times. It will be windy and cooler. We'll top out near 56, but north winds could gust 25 to 30 by later this afternoon. Tonight, partly cloudy, low dropping down to 26. We'll see increasing sunshine tomorrow and warmer temperatures as we'll bounce back to around 63. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Tune in to the Teammates Mentoring Hour each Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on 93.7 The Ticket. Hear stories from the program started by Tom and Nancy Osborne and how it's changed mentors and mentees' lives and how you can be involved. The Teammates Mentoring Hour, Wednesday nights from 6 to 7 o'clock on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
The Cash Blast promotion from the Nebraska Lottery is back. Until April 12th, when you buy a 2x2 ticket and enter the voucher number online, you could win a $5,000 or $500 cash prize. And if your winning voucher is from a 7-day draw 2x2 ticket, your cash prize is doubled. There will be 7 weekly drawings and 14 total winners in the Cash Blast promotion. Cash Blast from the Nebraska Lottery. You can win $5,000 or $500. Promotion ends April 12th, 2022. 2x2 top prize odds 1 in 105,000.
Teamwork Construction reminds us when Vietnam veterans arrived back to the United States, there were no welcome home celebrations. On March 29th, National Vietnam War Veterans Day, we want all Vietnam veterans to know they're honored for their service. Your patriotism is the reason veterans today are treated with admiration. Thank you. This from Teamwork Construction, the home improvement and remodeling experts. Give them a call at 402-770-4042 and let them help make your dreams a reality.
Batter up!
Round up your friends and coworkers to get out and play softball. Different skill levels are available in either competitive or recreational for men, women, and co-ed. All teams get 6 weeks or 8 weeks of regular season games, depending on the day you play, plus a double elimination tournament. Games start in April and play through July. Registration closes March 27th, so get signed up today. For more info and to sign up for adult summer softball, go to teamsideline.com/LincolnNE.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Nebraska Army National Guard. Aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association at this station.
You're listening to One on One with DP. Sponsored by Beatrice Bakery on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to One on One. Special conversation with the folks from Choices Treatment Center here in Lincoln. Deb Hammond, Mike Sondra. Before the break, we were talking about spousal involvement and boundary setting and those things. But I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to put out information that is of priority to you. So in your messaging and in your operation, Mike, I'll start with you.
I would say the biggest thing is the understanding that, first of all, you're not alone. If you're experiencing a problem, if your family member is experiencing a problem, somebody you care about is experiencing a problem, know that you're not alone. Just know that there's help out there, there's resources out there. And that's what I'd like to speak about the most, is that the Gamblers Assistance Program here in the state of Nebraska offers free treatment for gamblers and their families. And that's a huge piece to understand, is that because money, like we've talked about already, is a tool used in gambling, but is obviously can be a factor once the money runs out.
Where does that funding come from for you guys to be able to provide this free service?
So it comes from the different gambling sources that are currently in Nebraska, with Keno, lottery, all the non-charitable gaming. Any of that is where they take a certain percentage out of what is brought in as revenue, and they use that towards treatment.
In 1993, when the lottery was legalized, that the bulk of that our treatment dollars came from the Nebraska Lottery, and it still does. It's 1%. It's a half of 1% of the net proceeds of the lottery is after the first $500,000 is set aside, and every quarter there is a drop of funds into the Gamblers Assistance Program. That funding now is up to approximately 1.2 million, but that has to service the entire state. Okay. And so there is oftentimes somewhat of a shortage of funding, depending upon how extensive the case is.
How can folks help with this then? If they want to contribute and say, listen, what you guys are doing, you're doing good work. You're doing great work. How can we make sure that your responsibility is taken care of?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not sure that you can drop money into a state fund. I don't know. I do know that there's a not-for-profit called Creating Family Choices Inc. that raises money primarily for co-occurring disordered individuals and their families. So, like for example, that organization has helped people in Scotts Bluff to pay taxes, and then they in turn pay back the monies. So it's a do good, it's pay it forward. We have a golf tournament every year that we raise money with that golf tournament. Of course, not over the pandemic, but
is Jake involved?
He will be.
I'd like to be. Any golf tournament, I'm in.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, that's an easy match right there.
Right. We're looking to bring that back in Choices and the Nebraska Council on Compulsive Gambling, and would team with the Creating Family Choices Inc. to raise funds for that. The lottery is extremely charitable in that event as well. We're looking that the casinos will jump on board with that. I can't imagine that they won't. The gaming industry is behind us. I have to say that they are on board 100%. Give a message, get out there and make people aware, and let's talk about it. But let's be real about it as well.
Are there areas of the state that are more likely to be involved in this at a higher rate risk number than others? So this is not exclusive to Lincoln/Omaha. This is the entire state.
Oh, this is a statewide issue. And actually, the ironic thing is that we're actually have a shortage of gambling counselors in the state of Nebraska right now.
That was the next question was where do you get your counselors for the folks who answer the phones? Right. There is a process to being able to answer phones and be able to have the right information available to help people.
Well,
prior to the pandemic, we Choices was a teaching facility, and I would draw interns from either the University of Nebraska or from Wesleyan and Doane. Our clinical director, clinical psychologist, was Dr. Thomas Gilligan until he retired. And then Kate Speck has also worked very closely with us. And I only have 2 interns right now. They're both, one's going to be substance abuse and gambling, where Mike is going to be from a story aspect, and then his marketing piece adds great depth for us. Then I said 2, but I have 3 or 4 now that I say that out loud. There's an individual that's coming through the program, but it's difficult right now for anybody to even consider it, partly because the pay wasn't all that great. I mean, it wasn't. It is steadily getting better, but when a mental health therapist has to take on an extra class, they got to go back to school. We have standards for the counselor. They have to learn about the gambling addiction. You cannot just be substance abuse and mental health background and attempt to try and handle this. Although it is in the mental health scope of work. If you're a mental health practitioner, it is in your scope of work to treat addictions.
Let the folks know how, if they're sitting and pondering and somebody comes to mind, right, that might need assistance, how do they find you? How do they reach out? Where do you direct them?
Okay. Well, the first thing I'm going to give you is the 2 different hotlines that are available. Those are available 24/7. The first one's the Nebraska Gambling Helpline. It is 1-833-BET-OVER. So that's 238-6837. Or you can go to the website, which is problemgambling.nebraska.gov. If you type in problem gambling, if you Google problem gambling Nebraska, you should be able to find that pretty easily. It's the .gov one that you're going to find there. It's a great website. It has all the resources on there. It has the phone number on there. It has stories. It has Justin, who's in charge of our phone line, of the problem gambling phone line. He's on there talking about everything. And it's just a really great resource. There's also the National Problem Gambling Helpline. That one is 1-800-522-4700. So those are great places to start. We also have a 24-hour helpline, so you can always contact us, 402-476-2300. We have a website as well, choicestreatmentcenter.com. Any of these places are great places to start. The thing is that you're going to speak to someone live, someone who cares, someone who's going to listen to you and then help you find that next step.
Deb, I think for what you guys do, and again, they're low key, people will say this is necessary, but I will say it's heroic because you're going to change and affect lives in the positive way that, sometimes day to day you forget those things. You get lost in the wash that this is difficult. But
That's very kind of you. I do appreciate that because I do think that well, first of all, I put my staff up against anybody in the continental United States because I've trained nationally. Secondly, I think that the providers that Gap has, they're some of the best. There's other providers here in Lincoln, and you can find those on the website. Then there's a provider in Norfolk. There's a provider in South Sioux City. We are moving to expand into Columbus when the casino goes there, opens up. There's three providers. You've got two in North Platte and then one in the Kearney Grand Island area. We are definitely short though. Beatrice has a therapist. That's Justin, who actually answers the helpline. We could use more providers. We will definitely need more providers as the casinos come on. The more accessibility to gambling, the more we will have problems for a period of time, but then we'll level out again, and hopefully awareness messages. And like I say, the casinos are willing to put it out there. They don't want to see a suicide. They don't want to see trafficking. They don't want to see prostitution. These are the things that are attracted around a casino type area. And so those activities need to be openly talked about as well. We can't avoid them.
I really want to say thank you for coming in today and giving us direction. Having a North Star for how things are supposed to be handled in advance is where we come up short sometimes. And I appreciate you guys coming and setting the standard and putting this stuff out there because this is big.
Well, we're just grateful to have you guys as partners, and the ticket has been great to us, and we look forward to having a relationship in the future.
Let them know how to find you.
choicestreatmentcenter.com, 402-476-2300.
Deb Hammond and Mike Sondra. Thank you guys for doing this. We'll turn a break. We'll come back. We'll close out one-on-one. Hand it over to the captain here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Watch live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. You're listening to One-on-One with DP on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. This is your High School Minute.
With your Southeast Community College High School Minute, I'm Harrison Arns. State basketball has concluded, and here are your winners for girls and boys. For the girls, in Class A, number 2 Fremont won over number 5 Lincoln Southwest. In Class B, number 1 Elkhorn North won over number 2 Scott Catholic. In Class C1, number 1 Lincoln Lutheran just fell short against number 2 Northman Central, 31-35. For the boys, Miller North is your Class A champions after a win over number 2 Bellevue West, 67-57. In Class B, number 2 Roncalli Catholic won its championship over number 1 Scott Catholic, 52-37. In Class C1, Cale Jacobson from number 2 Ashland Greenwood continued his great tournament run. Ashland Greenwood took home the championship on a buzzer beater corner 3 by Evan Shepard, assisted by Cale Jacobson. They would win over Auburn, 36-33. In Class D2, number 6 Parkview Christian won over number 1 St. Mary's in the title game. This has been your High School Minute, sponsored by Southeast Community College, with locations in Lincoln, Beatrice, and Milford. Learn more today at southeast.edu.
What does better service mean? At Allo, it means that you get the best fiber internet available at prices that work for you. Better service means installers who show up on time. Better service means no billing shenanigans. Better service means a real person answers the phone. If you're not paying for better service, what are you paying for? Get Allo. Get better service. Switch today at allofiber.com/better service.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
Tune in to the Teammates Mentoring Hour each Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on 93.7 The Ticket. Hear stories from the program started by Tom and Nancy Osborne and how it's changed mentors and mentees' lives and how you can be involved. The Teammates Mentoring Hour, Wednesday nights from 6 to 7 o'clock on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
The middle of March is here, and you know what that means. It's time to get to Buffalo Wings Rings at 68th and O for our yearly party for the first 2 days of the NCAA tournament. Join us this Thursday and Friday for beer, food, basketball, great prizes, and sports talk. We'll be on location both days from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., and the first 64 people to stop by on Thursday get a draw for a ping pong ball with a team and the tourney on it that can lead to great prizes if that team makes the Final Four. It's March Mayhem with 93.7 The Ticket this Thursday and Friday at Buffalo Wings Rings, 68th and O.
The captain, Vershawn Jackson.
My hardest job is to know how to win and how to lose and be able to handle adversity.
Well, I think that's also good because adversity is a great teacher. Usually when you're winning, you're not going to change much. But when you really encounter adversity, then everything's on the table. You begin to really examine your life and examine what you've been doing, what you haven't been doing, and that's when sometimes the most meaningful changes occur.
Weekdays from 11 to 2 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Herrick Services takes this time to wish everyone a happy and healthy St. Patrick's Day celebration. We are thankful for the ability to celebrate this year with friends and family as we move past the rough times from the pandemic. This important message comes to you from Bart, Mike, and the folks at Herrick Services, your vending specialists here in Lincoln. Their quality service and expertise has earned them a fine reputation. That's Herrick Services, on the air because they care.
Spring is on its way. Are you prepared to keep the grass greener on your side? Blades Lawn and Landscape is awaiting your call if you're looking to change services for your home owners association or anything else for residential or commercial jobs. Transform your yard into a private oasis with the professional services offered by Blades Lawn and Landscape. Call them today at 402-730-6320 or go to bladeslcc.com to schedule a free estimate on commercial or residential lawn services. Blades Lawn and Landscape.
You're listening to One on One with DP, presented by Beatrice Bakery on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back. Final segment of One on One. A couple things to remind you about. Again, you can join the ticket at Buffalo Wings and Rings, 68th and O for March Mayhem. Thursday and Friday, the 17th and 18th, live shows from 11 to 6. So you'll get the captain show, you'll get the happy hour, you'll get on the block, all from Buffalo Wings and Rings for those 2 days. The first 64 people to show up on Thursday will get a ping pong ball of a team in the tournament on it. If that team makes the Final Four, you'll win sweet prizes. Prize giveaways at the top of every hour, both days. Free raffle tickets, so no purchase is required, just free for just showing up and hanging out with us. Prizes, appetizers, beer tubes, gift cards, and more. Wings, beer, and basketball. Oh, yeah, and sports talk. What's better than that? March Mayhem this Thursday and Friday at Buffalo Wings and Rings, 68th and O. Plus, don't forget, Thursday is St. Patrick's Day, so make plans. Are you one of those people, Rico, that if somebody doesn't wear green,
no,
I'm not
going to pinch anybody.
You're not going to pinch?
No, I'm not pinching anybody.
You're not going to pinch?
No. And nobody better pinch me.
No. Well, but you can't make the rule on who pinches you.
Don't pinch me.
You can't make the rule.
Don't pinch
on
it. I'm not making a rule. Just don't pinch me.
There are people that believe it.
Don't pinch me.
There are people that
I
believe
will
in
kick you in the shin. Do not pinch me.
You can't. Well, what if you're at Wings and Rings and you don't have on green?
Don't pinch me.
You can't kick somebody.
I'll kick somebody through the table.
You can't.
If somebody try,
you're working.
They are assaulting me at work.
You cannot.
They are assaulting me at work. Is what's
Jake?
happening.
Are you a pincher?
I am pinching Rico
Right.
to the fullest.
You're
extent.
not. No, you're not pinching.
See, I thought that was going to happen.
No, I'm going to kick you in the shin, Sorensen.
There is such a thing as personal space on the rest of the days, but when it's St. Patrick's Day,
No.
hey, if you ain't wearing green,
No.
guess what? You are getting the pinch.
He's letting you in advance.
I will kick you in the shin.
You get well. I'll pinch you again then. I pinch you.
Look,
kick me in the shin. I'm going to pinch with both hands next time.
I'm going to kick even harder.
Then you get your purple nurple.
One of us is going to hurt more than the other.
I'm going to hurt you
or
because
wedgie.
you are not participating in.
Or wedgie.
I don't need to
greatness of the
participate
day.
in it.
Why not?
I'm not Irish. I don't care.
I thought you were a fun-loving
How do you
person.
I am going to participate, but now I don't want to.
You don't know if you're Irish or not.
I actually think I might have some
I was
Irish. in
gonna
me. The
say, what
the
are you
last name
saying?
Clary definitely.
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah,
say,
what
what
the
are you
heck,
talking
man?
about?
But I was going to participate, and now I don't want to. Like I always wear some type of green. Now I don't want to. You guys did this.
No, you're gonna wear green.
Now you
I'm
guys
gonna
did
make
this.
You, wear
you guys
green.
did this.
Big
I'm gonna wear like
Big
green.
baby is right.
I'm gonna wear green socks.
You
So when
big-
you pinch me,
yeah.
then I can pinch you
No,
back
you can
because I
show
have
the
green on.
socks.
I'll look for your socks.
Yeah,
Then.
then you decoy. We've got a great night set up for Upside Bar and Lounge tonight. So Nicole Griffin, her show will be there from 6 to 8. Her and Nick will be down there. Talking Tens will also be live from there. Michaela and Kenzie will be down there. They will take pictures or sign autographs, whatever you want. Matter of fact, probably convince Michaela to do a standing flip or two.
Maybe she can teach you how to do one. Also.
The deep. She's not going to teach me anything. The deep end from 9 to 10, and in the pocket with the bowling girls. So they'll be there until 11 o'clock. Just go hang out. They've got all sorts of stuff set up for the night. Go by and say hi. Maybe the girls may even have their national championship ring to flash at you.
Hey,
you can't keep it though.
You cannot keep it. They will fight you for it, and they're pretty tough.
they will win.
So, and then for Thursday and Friday, Jake, let them know what they need to know.
Once again, you stop by Buffalo Wings and Ring, 68th and 0. We'll have 64 ping pong balls, so get there early. We'll be there at 11 o'clock. The captain, for Sean, will start things off for us out there on Thursday. You want to be there right away to get in line for a ping pong ball. No purchase necessary. If your team's on the ping pong ball when the final 4 hits, you get great prizes like gift certificates and more. We'll give you official word on those prizes here by the end of the week, but it's going to be good stuff. And again, like you said, DP, prizes at the top of all hours, both days we're out there. So we'll be there from 11 to 6. Stop by, have fun. They always have a great time. Tons of TVs. There is no bad view of a TV at Buffalo Wings and Rings.
No,
it's a great space with, I think they have like 50 TVs there. I want to get in that realm.
I feel like you're underselling them when you say
might be more
50.
than that. Might be 100
There's
TVs.
so
I don't
many
know.
TVs.
50 plus. Let's go 50 plus TVs.
And then we know Friday, 3:30, Huskers are playing.
That's right. And yep, come on by. We'll have the watch party at
So
Buffalo
if there-
Wings and Rings.
So if there's 50 TVs, at least 25 will be on the Husker women.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I would imagine.
At least they
so.
better be.
It's a tradition, and we love Buffalo Wings and Rings and doing our shows out there. So we love that they have us back there every year.
Yeah, shout out Buffalo Wings Rings.
Good
What?
stuff all around. Oh,
And Rico will be wearing green if you stop by on
I won't.
Thursday. Decked out in green. DP
I won't.
right here.
boxers,
I won't.
long johns.
I might go double green top, green bottom.
You could.
I got a green hat I could wear too.
I coached at a school whose colors were actually I coached at several schools who were green. So I have warm ups that I'll just put on.
I'm not wearing green.
Rico,
I'm more the opposite of green.
you know what? I'm gonna pinch you, and then DP's gonna pinch you.
I'll
it's
kick
gonna
you
be
both in the
it's gonna be
shins.
No, you won't actually. Actually, you won't.
You're not kicking me. in the
Don't
shins.
pinch me.
Actually,
Don't pinch
I'm
me.
wearing shin guards.
Don't
baby.
pinch me. You're warning me. I'm warning you.
Hey,
We're all getting warnings.
no. Company policy: pinching is allowed.
Yeah,
No.
that's right. And
Company
and shin
policy.
I didn't
kicking is not
sign that.
allowed.
Company
I
policy.
didn't sign that
You
contract.
don't have to.
I didn't sign that
That's
contract.
the beauty
not
of
how
that.
You
this
didn't
works.
read the book, the handbook clearly.
You don't
I
have
read
to.
it.
It's page 17.
There's no pinching in
No,
there.
he just said he's not even a reader. Like he just
It's on page 17 of the handbook.
he doesn't read.
I read him. No.
No,
whatever.
you don't
It
read.
also says
I read
no
some things.
It says no shin kicking allowed either.
You're
so.
getting
It's not. No, I know that's
That's
You're
on the
getting
same page of the
pinched.
handbook.
Excellent.
It's not there.
Accepted. All right. Oh, Captain's Show coming up next here on the ticket.
Teamwork Construction reminds us when Vietnam veterans